Welcome to the Epcotian Adventure,
a podcast where we'll talk about all things Disney,
including tips and tricks, festivals and favorites, and the very latest in news and reviews.
But we're still old enough to remember when we thought that Dumbo was a thrill ride.
This is episode 46, the top 5 thrill rides at Walt Disney World.
Or, yes, the monorail is fast, but it's not a thrill ride.
So now, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast as we embark on our Epcotian Adventure. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 46 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And today's topic is going to be one that I've wanted to do for a while, and Sue's been wanting to do for a while, but what is a thrill ride at Walt Disney World? So these are the top 5, in our opinion, top 5 thrill rides at Walt Disney World.
We haven't done one in a while where we compare our lists of favorite things, and we don't know each other's answers until we are doing them on the podcast. So this is going to be one of those. So this is each of our top 5 individually. And then at the end, we're going to want to know what yours are. So be thinking about what your top 5 is.
And that's the weird thing is, what is a thrill ride? If you go to Six Flags, you go to Universal, the roller coasters are thrill rides. Walt Disney World, it's not quite as cut and dry. You have things like Test Track. It's not a roller coaster, but it goes fast. That's a thrill ride.
Right. You have Soarin'.
Right.
Which is thrill-in because it's a different kind of experience and you're up high. And that could be thrilling. Is it a thrill ride?
And the monorail does like 50 miles an hour.
Right. But
yeah,
nobody knows it.
Not really a thrill ride, I guess. I mean, even the parking lot tram, really, it goes fast. It's a ride. I don't know.
Well, and when we were 5 years old, Dumbo was exciting. Is that a thrill ride?
I still like Dumbo. Is that
it's lost a little of its
weird?
thrill.
I don't know. It's just, I like going into the line and just being able to get food. I love that. They have a snack case in the line for Dumbo. Come on.
And air conditioning.
I love that.
There's that too. But also not a thrill ride.
Oh, that is very true. So what we're classifying as a thrill ride is basically how Disney World classifies it as a thrill ride. Like maybe the Haunted Mansion, because it's scary. Ooh.
But is it a thrill? It's not fast. The Disney website used to categorize them for you, so you could look up and say, hey, I want to see what your thrill rides are, and it would do it for you. I don't know if I'm just not finding it because they've moved it, but I could not find a spot where it did that now. So we just sort of went on instinct on what would be naturally considered a thrill ride. So hopefully we hit the marks on these.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this because I know Sue and I have a very similar thought pattern when it comes to attractions on the ones we always hit. Some of these may not be ones that we ride all the time, though, because they're in a park that we don't go to all the time.
Right. And, our last few episodes, and if you've listened to the podcast, you know that we gravitate towards the chill rides. Our favorite rides are Spaceship Earth and Living with the Land. Not exactly your thrill type rides. So we thought doing an episode dedicated to the thrill rides that we do enjoy would be worth a little time. So I know a lot of people go there for the thrills. It's not really built that way. It really is more of a family park. That's what Walt wanted. So anyway, we're going to jump right in, I think.
Let's go ahead and look at our number 5. So Sue,
we should say we did all 4 parks, but no water parks. We
Very
did not
good
include.
point.
So no Summit Plummet, none of the things that you would find at Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon.
Yeah, very good point. This is Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney's Animal Kingdom, and Disney Hollywood Studios.
Yes. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, what's your number 5?
My number 5. I actually had a hard time with my number 5. I usually am pretty good with doing like 1 and 2, but as you get farther down, it gets a little more ambiguous. So my number 5 is going to be at Disney Hollywood Studios, and it is Tower of Terror.
Number 5 is Tower of Terror?
Number 5 is Tower of Terror.
Okay, explain.
I love Tower of Terror. It is definitely a thrill ride.
Maybe
one of the most thrilling rides. I have several adult friends who are terrified of this one. It is a drop ride.
Faster than the speed of gravity. It's
True.
An elevator that pulls you down faster than gravity. Come on.
It
doesn't get much more thrilling than that.
It's a fantastic ride, there's no doubt. And it's the only one of its kind that travels out of the elevator shaft, which makes it unique. And it still has the Twilight Zone theming, which I do enjoy.
Yeah, of the 4 Towers of Terror,
Yes.
only the one at Walt Disney World and the one in Paris still have the Twilight Zone theme. The one at Disney California Adventure is now Guardians of the Galaxy, and the one at Tokyo Disneyland, Disney Sea, is Hightower Hotel, and it's based on the SE8
Lore.
Yeah, there we go. And can't wait to ride that one. We missed it when we were there, and cannot wait to go back and ride it.
Yeah, there are a couple things that we're missing from that first trip. We're going to have to go back.
Yeah.
But it definitely had to make my list, and it hit the number 5 spot.
Well, my number 5 was Avatar Flight of Passage.
Oh.
Now, I know this is going to be controversial. A lot of people have this as their number 1. It, for some reason, makes me a little nauseated.
I'm actually surprised it hit your list at all.
Oh, wow. No, I love it. I love the queue, as you've heard us talk about in our favorite queues. Love Hank and the Tank in the queue. The whole premise for the attraction with the larger-than-life theatrical screen is better, in my opinion, concept-wise, than Soarin'. Now, Soarin' I love, and it would be in my top 5 normally. I actually had Soarin' as 5, and I replaced it with this one because it is newer technology. It's in 3D, which is not always necessary, but it works really well with this one. And it just fits the scape of the land so well. And to me, it is my number 5 thrill ride just because it's so beautiful to watch. I actually had an emotional reaction to it. I had some allergies, I'm pretty sure, from Pandora the very first time I rode it because it was so beautiful.
I had a similar experience that first time when I felt the Banshee breathing under me.
Oh my gosh.
When you're standing on that cliff and just waiting to dive down. Oh my word.
Jump.
I literally started to tear up. It was a beautiful experience. That's a really good one. That one actually did not make my list.
Oh wow.
And it's only because of that nausea factor. If you're not lined up with the screens just right, it can make me a little floopy. So I removed it from my list.
Understand. The only reason it jumped in ahead of Soarin' was because of the better technology and the better placement within the land, in my opinion.
And it is more of a thrill ride, I would say.
It is. I think it is more thrilling than Soarin', but it's newer technology. It's more crisp on the screen, too. Although Soarin' Around the World is very crisp on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, my number 4 was Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, so that's why I was a little surprised that yours hit higher or lower than mine on your list.
I actually thought Tower might be way up on your list, like 1 or 2.
It's one of my favorite technology attractions. I love the fact that it's now a more randomized drop as well.
I love that.
The only reason it falls short, in my opinion, is because they haven't updated it to be like Paris. I love the poltergeist, the little girl in Paris. Now, I agree. All 4 should have their own unique storylines in some way. But, oh my gosh, the Paris version of that attraction just took me by so much surprise. I really wish Florida's would bring that in.
We expected the one in Paris to be a carbon copy. So when it wasn't, that was a really nice surprise.
What's your number 4?
My number 4, we're going to hop over to Epcot, and I'm going to do Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Okay, I can see that. Now, that one I know makes your head floopy as well.
It does, but it's so much fun that it makes my list anyway, because it's just, I seriously laughed the whole way through that ride. I was dancing and laughing, which is probably why my head was a little floopy at the end. But it was just so much fun, and I love the Guardians characters. I love the films. I love
the pre-show.
Yes.
The pre-show's plural.
Even though they say Epcotians.
I know, it's Epcotian.
Clearly it's Epcotian.
Definitely Epcotian, yes.
But yeah, the pre-show's great, the queue's great, the music's great. The whole concept of the ride, the technology behind the ride, every bit of it is fantastic. And it's definitely one of the more thrilling rides.
If you're not familiar with the attraction, it is a spinning coaster, but it's a controlled spin. It spins just enough to point you towards a show scene. So it's more like the Haunted Mansion going really fast.
I like that comparison.
And it has music from the 70s and 80s. No, actually, I think it's all 70s at that point, really.
I'm so bad with that. I'm going to let you take
Everybody
that.
Wants to Rule the World would be 80s. So it's
That's
70s
true.
and 80s, and each train has its own song. So you don't know what song you're going to get going through the attraction, which, again, it just highlights how brilliant of a concept that ride is.
It really is. And some people were bummed that the Christmas overlay was not happening this year, that they did last year. And to me, part of the fun of the ride is what song are you going to get? And when they took that element away for the holiday overlay, it was just one song. It was a medley, so it was different songs as you went along, but there was no chance of getting a different song. It was just one for every car. And I think that's where they missed the mark on the overlay.
Yeah, and they could have done like Run, Run, Rudolph, or Baby
Literally
Wants to Rock It, like
anything.
a Boogie Woogie Christmas Train by the Tractors. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff they could have done.
Literally
that is
anything by
high
Jackson
energy.
5.
Yes, exactly. The old Jackson 5 stuff would have been great. Well, my number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, so we don't really need to go much deeper into that. All right, so what was your number 3 then?
So my number 3, I'm going to go back over to Disney Hollywood Studio, which tends to be the home of most thrill rides. And I'm going to go with Rock and Roller Coaster.
I love Rock and Roller Coaster.
This
I love Aerosmith.
Wait a minute. I love that idea.
Very nice. This one almost didn't make my list because we tend to skip it quite often. And usually that's only because it gets a long queue and we tend to park hop to studios. So just because we normally don't do it, it almost didn't make my list, but it is such a good ride. That launch and the countdown and that's the only opportunity you have to go upside down at Disney World. So, I mean, don't miss that opportunity, And again, back to Guardians thing, this is another part of the fun is what song you're going to get.
That's true. It has different Aerosmith songs depending on which train you're in.
Yes, and Love in a Roller Coaster is obviously the best one.
Oh, yes. Love in an elevator, but on a roller coaster instead.
Exactly.
I love Sweet Emotion.
Oh my gosh, that one's so good.
It
Oh,
fits
through that loop.
First loop structure, the first double loop structure, perfectly.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, they did a great job programming. It is odd, however, as much as I am a coaster junkie, Rock and Roller Coaster is not in my top 5.
That surprises me.
Yeah, I love the ride, but it's for the same reason that you just said, is because it always has such a long queue, and single rider there is a joke.
Yeah, a single rider at Rock and Roller Coaster is hardly ever worth it.
Yeah,
you might as well just wait with your party. And I mean, if you happen to be there by yourself, you might as well. It might save you 10 minutes.
Oh, actually, I've seen the line take just as long as the standard queue.
Yeah, we've actually seen it take longer.
With us in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just so much fun. It's all about that launch and the music and just so much fun. I still want to see it done as an overlay with Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Bring the Muppets across the park. Come on, that would be awesome.
It would be so awesome.
Powerline.
Powerline would be great,
from a Goofy
too.
movie. That would be awesome.
I mean, there's been all this debate, like, who are you going to bring in? And Queen is always the top answer,
I think
which
Queen
would be
is
fun.
probably the most likely.
But again, why pay to use someone else's music when you can already have this fantastic music owned by Disney?
Little known fact, Disney owns the entire Queen library already.
Do they?
They do, which is why I was saying Queen is the most likely, because it's already part
That's interesting.
It's already part of Disney.
But again, they're picking an older band. I mean, classic, yes. Everybody, even kids, know at least one Queen song, even if they don't know that they know it.
Come on, Bohemian Rhapsody going through that attraction? I'm not sure how it would work, but
it would
be awesome.
It would work. Oh my gosh. It would have to almost be a medley of Queen songs.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anyway, that is my number 3.
All right, well, my number 2 is going back to my childhood, or our childhood, really. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad
nice.
At Disneyland and at Magic Kingdom and at Disneyland Paris and at Tokyo Disneyland. Oh, I love, love, love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It took the place of the mine train at Disneyland in the 70s, and I cried like a little child because I was a
You were a little child.
Yeah, I was very young. But when I finally rode Thunder, I fell in love with that attraction. I got to operate it, and I am proud to say that I got to wear the boots and the hat and push the button and send the people into the ride. And one of my favorite memories still. So in my heart, I had to pick Thunder Mountain as number 2. Now at Magic Kingdom, it is a mirror copy of the Disneyland one, which is the original one. And it doesn't lose anything. Here's a few things I would love to see, though. I would love to see them build more walkways around it so you can see more of the mountain, which they're probably going to do now if they go with the Beyond Thunder Mountain project they're talking about.
That would be cool.
Which would be awesome, so that you can see more of the attraction from the walkways. And I would also love to see them bring in what's called the sea lift effects, the effects on the third lift at Disneyland, which is
the dynamite and
the dynamite with the projection mapping like they have at Disneyland.
That would be amazing.
It's such a great way to end that attraction. It tells the story, brings the story full circle, in my opinion. And anyway, I'm a big Thunder Mountain fan, so it's number 2.
Nice. My number 2 is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Hey, that's a good choice. I had a feeling these last 2 might be actually the same ones.
They very well could.
Yeah.
I have such a soft spot in my heart for that ride, and even today, going on it, we went on it on this last trip, and I just giggle beginning to end. It is so much fun. There's nothing scary. There's nothing that's gonna be intimidating to someone who's even new to coasters. It's such a great family ride, but it still has that thrill factor.
It does, and the 40-inch height requirement is perfect because it's great to be your kid's first coaster.
Maybe second.
Oh, Barnstormer maybe
Do
first.
Barnstormer first.
That's a good point, yeah.
Maybe even Slinky. Slinky also has that little bit of a thrill.
Well, that's a good point.
But it is a kid's coaster. But anyway, Big Thunder Mountain definitely earns that number 2 spot.
So, for me, when you come off of the second lift, the outdoor lift, and start into what they call Spiral Butte, the big double spiral as you're going down, it just makes me laugh, haha, every time.
It does make me laugh, haha.
Yeah.
It's just a good time from beginning to end, and it's so well themed. Even the queue is themed well. It's just a good time.
Okay, number 1, should we just say it at the same time?
Well, I don't know if mine's the same as yours. I'm assuming it is, but...
Ready? Here we go. Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, Rise of the Resistance had to be number 1 on, I think, just about everybody who's been on its top 5, top 10, top 20 thrill ride list, just attractions list.
It's so unique.
Here's the thing. Is it a thrill ride? Well, in my opinion and Disney's opinion, it is because of the drop, because of the nature of the attraction.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you haven't been on it, don't listen.
There's no drop.
Too late. No drop. I know what you're talking about. But the little bitty drop is enough to make it a thrill ride, along with all of the theming that you go through from start to
You're
finish.
being shot at by stormtroopers.
And you're in Star Wars.
I mean, obviously nothing's going to happen because stormtroopers.
Right. They're not going to hit anything.
But it is absolutely a thrilling ride, even though it's the exact same technology that they use in Ratatouille. Like,
yeah. And
you know?
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Right.
And Aquatopia. And however, it is done in such a fashion that it's actually, it feels like 2 rides within a ride, or almost 3 rides in a ride. Because you have the pre-show with the motion, then you have the initial ride element, and then you have the drop. And it really is one of the most perfect attractions ever built. But in my opinion, it is the most thrilling ride at the Walt Disney World Resort.
And it's one of those that even if you're not sold on the IP, even if Star Wars isn't your jam, it is still such a good attraction. And by the end of the ride, you have experienced Star Wars. Like, even if you went in going, whatever, I have no idea who Rey is, what is a BB-8, you would still be rooting for the Resistance by the end of that ride.
Yeah, the initial walking into the ship with all of the stormtroopers.
Oh, I love that.
The cast members in character. It lends itself to just being more of an experience than just a thrill ride.
It is Star Wars.
But it is Star Wars.
You're in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the key to the storytelling that Disney has done with this that makes it my favorite.
Mine too.
And yours. Hey. Well, let's talk about honorable mentions. I think there's a single. I have one.
I have 2.
Mine's Rock and Roller Coaster. It didn't make my top 5, but for the reasons we were talking about a few minutes ago, it is my honorable mention. I love the attraction. It actually has aged pretty well for a big coaster.
It has, better than Paris did.
Yeah, that's true.
That one was
painful. They ended up changing
painful.
that one over. Well, it's been rehabbed now, and it has the Avengers theme now.
Yeah, we need to go ride that again.
We should, for science.
For science.
Definitely, yes. So
we do this for you.
Right. If you ever wondered what $1,000 brunch productions means, it's when we go do some day drinking and book trips to Disney parks.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's how we ended up in Paris the first time.
It is,
Weird.
actually.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention, I actually have two because I can't make a list properly. I just can't. But I have to throw Falcon in there. Smuggler's Run, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run is, again, you're in Star Wars. You get to walk through the Millennium Falcon. You can hear the floorboards where there's the smuggling space under you, like where it vibrates. Oh my gosh, it's just so good. And if you are pilot number 1 and you get to throw it into hyperspace, there's not much that's better than that.
That's true. That is, the only thing that would be better is if Chewie was next to you in the cabin.
My only thing that I really, really wanted to be part of the ride and isn't is to have an actual gunner's position.
Yes.
Like Luke takes in the little bubble. I knew they wouldn't have the little firing gun bubble thing, but to have an actual gunner's position would have been amazing.
That would be amazing. If that would put it at the top of my list, or
right?
near the top of my list.
And it would make that a viable position to go up against being a pilot. Still, the engineer would suck. But for people who don't want to participate as much, they could take that position.
I get to push me flashing button. Yay.
Oh, good times. The other one that I just want to mention real quick as an honorable mention is Tron, Light Cycle Run. It's just too new to have made my top 5 of all time. But it is beyond thrilling. It was so much better than I thought it was going to be.
I love Tron, but for the same reason as Star Tours or as Space Mountain, the older I get, the harder it is for me to sometimes ride some of those attractions. And one thing, I mentioned this when we were talking about Tron, is that the bike riding position was very, very uncomfortable and not good on my back.
Now, there is the position at the end of the train, not all the trains, but some of the trains that has a regular seated position. And you might try that next time.
Maybe next time you and I'll just do that and just see how it is. Because I think as a traditional coaster seat, I actually would enjoy it a lot more than I did. I loved it. I loved the launch. I loved the lights, the music, everything about it.
Yes.
But by the time I got off the attraction, much like Space Mountain, I just hurt. And so it didn't make my top 5 or even honorable because of that.
That's
However,
fair.
We highly recommend riding it.
Yes, we do. It was so much fun. Even if you're not familiar with Tron or Tron Legacy, the movies, you would still enjoy this as a ride. So, which is, I think, where Disney excels, is making you fans of IP that you weren't necessarily fans of. So, like they did with Rise, you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to enjoy Rise of the Resistance.
That's a very good point. Although I'm looking forward to getting some new attractions that are not based on existing IP. I would love to see something like the Expedition Everest attraction.
Right,
be
or Big
built.
Thunder Mountain.
Or Thunder Mountain, yes. Where it's unique to Disney and it's not from a film.
I mean, that's how they all start. That's how Pirates started. Now it's part of a franchise.
Yeah, Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion,
2
again.
failed movies.
Right.
But even, it's funny, when you think back, even the Matterhorn was based on Third Man on the Mountain, which was
right.
a Disney film, in an indirect way.
Yeah, I mean, when they first opened Disneyland, they had both, because they did have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, and all the dark rides.
All the dark rides were obviously film-based.
Films.
It would be really weird to have a dark ride that wasn't film-based. Although Sinbad in Tokyo Disney Seas
I was just
is
going to say Sinbad.
pretty much, it was based on a story, but not a film.
The best non-Disney Disney attraction.
It's so good. We'll have to do a Disney Tokyo episode sometime.
We should do a whole Tokyo episode. That's right. Everybody else
days.
says, why not?
I know. It seems to be the thing right now on YouTube. Like, everybody was in Tokyo. Don't know what that was about.
And
So
they didn't
anyway.
invite us. That's just, I'm not whining, but I want to go.
How rude.
How rude.
So that was our top 5 thrill rides at Disney World. We want to know what yours is. Hopefully you've been thinking about it through the episode. And we want to know what you would have put at the top of your list. And what did we miss? We didn't mention Mission Space. We didn't mention
Test Track.
Expedition Everest. We didn't mention Test Track. There were a couple of
them.
them.
Those are all personal choices, really. I mean, Test Track.
Absolutely.
I don't like the waiting in long lines.
We didn't even
for
mention
that.
Space Mountain.
Well, Space, we've said it a few times, though, that we're not fans of Space. I love that Space Mountain was the first computerized roller coaster on the planet. And I love the history of Space Mountain. And I loved it when I was younger. But when you're over 50, it just plain hurts. And last time I had to get out of it, it was embarrassing. I literally crawled out of the ride vehicle. And
You
I
just gotta.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know. We'd love to know what we missed. Before we go, we'd like to give a big thank you to our social media coordinator, Riley Piper, audio engineers Joey Humphrey and Paul Trett, logo designer Evan Piper, and our theme music composer Jason Patrick Rowan, whose music is licensed through Pond 5. And of course, thank you, Phoenicians.
Thank you, Phoenicians. And don't forget to rate, review, like, and subscribe. It really, really does help other people find us. And you can find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Epcotian Adventure is a $1,000 brunch production and a proud gold member of D23. Thanks for joining us today for episode 46 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And we'll see you in line.
Bye.
As much as I'm a coaster
Gunky?
a coaster I'm a coaster gunky.